Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Americans are about to pay more for cars, electronics, and sushi rice thanks to this.
After months of negotiations between the U.S. and Japan, a trade agreement has now been reached.
A historic trade deal, says Donald Trump.
I just signed the largest trade deal in history. I think maybe the largest deal in history with Japan. We worked on it long and hard, and it's a great deal for everybody.
Actually, it's only a good deal for Americans who are ignorant, like Trump.
Okay, so this is how you fool a president who doesn't understand economics into thinking he's won something.
So what's in the deal? Donald Trump is slapping a 15% tariff on all Japanese goods imported into the United States. That rate is lower than the 25% Trump threatened. In return, Japan has agreed to invest $550 billion in the United States, a number that Trump says will create new jobs. It sounds impressive, but economist Justin Wolfers of the University of Michigan points out that Japan has not offered any details on the U.S. investment, and Donald Trump's tariff number on Japanese goods coming into the United States is a lot higher than if Trump did nothing.
Remember, the tariff here is the tax that Trump imposes on Americans. He's reduced that tax from 25% in his threats to 15%, but actually that tax before Trump, way back in January, was about 2%. So what the biggest thing Trump has done is he's raised taxes on Americans who import goods from Japan from 2% to 15%.
In short, Americans will pay more, and President Trump wants credit for it? Now, about American-made cars. Donald Trump has long complained that Japan doesn't buy enough of them. Donald Trump now insists that this deal will finally open the door. No. The fact is that Japan's tariffs on American-made cars are already zero. Nothing.
There's a belief in some circles that the reason the Japanese don't buy American cars is because of tariffs. It's nonsense. It turns out last week, last year, and last decade, the average tariff that Japan imposed on cars was 0%. The reason we don't sell a lot of cars in Japan is the Japanese like small cars. Americans make big cars. I am not remotely optimistic that this is going to open up the Japanese car industry to American automakers unless we start changing what we make.
Indeed, one imagines the average Tokyo commuter would rather walk to work than squeeze an American-made Chevy Tahoe or Ford F-150 pickup truck through the streets of Shibuya. As for American rice, the president wants to ship more of it to Japan, but here's the problem. Rice is rice, and the market doesn't much care where it comes from.
Think about rice as it's a commodity. It's the same whether you're importing your rice from Australia, from the US, from Canada, or wherever. So what's going to happen is our rice farmers are going to grow just as much rice as they did last week because the global demand and the global supply of rice are unchanged. Our rice farmers are going to still create as much rice, but the ships that leave the American ports, instead of leaving the American ports for other countries, will instead leave for Japan. It's not really going to have any major impact at all on the demand for American rice.
However, Japanese rice that Americans import for things like sushi, well, that rice will now cost more because of Donald Trump's 15% U.S. tariffs on all Japanese goods, including rice. So we are left with a U.S. president proclaiming economic triumph, while experts point out that Trump's math doesn't add up. In short, nothing of significance has changed except that Americans will pay more for Japanese goods, all while President Trump prances around like a rooster atop his own pile of feathers. But such is the fashion of our time. Thanks to Donald Trump, ignorance has been elevated to a virtue, and vanity, specifically Trump's, matters more than competence. One imagines the Japanese trade representatives toasting each other with sake, marveling at the ease with which they snookered a U.S. president who negotiates with the fervor of a poker player who thinks a full house means 3 queens and 2 McNuggets. To be clear, this Trump deal is not a triumph of Trump's diplomacy or evidence of his negotiating skills. It is a carnival stunt, a grift, a public relations con, a 3-card monte game played on the global stage with the American consumers holding the empty cup again. By the way, Donald Trump's ICE agents are now facing a huge lawsuit for assaulting a man who was the father of 3 U.S. Marines.
It's ¿Por qué le pegas?
Within hours, the recording of this incident went viral on social media, and soon the story was picked up by the broadcast networks and channels, including CBS News.
This violent arrest was captured on camera. You can see agents restraining a 48-year-old man, repeatedly punching him, blood visible on his shirt as he screamed. We've since learned that man is the father of 3 Marines, 2 active Marines, and 1 Marine Corps veteran.
One agent took a metal rod and slammed it against Barranco's neck while pushing him in the vehicle.
No one, whether you're in a facility detained or on a street corner, should be treated violently. That is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. That can be a violation of the First Amendment, depending on whether someone's peacefully protesting.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Titan, who wrote, "Every single victim of ICE should bring huge lawsuits." Indeed. I look forward to reading your comments about Americans who are now going to be victimized financially by the realities of Donald Trump's latest trade deal. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.